What's up? What's up? Another day leveled up. It's your boy Salem back with another one for you.
What's goody goody gumdrop? The Tyler here.
It's my homie Tyler. He's got his own YouTube channel as well. He's one of my best friends in the world. Make sure to follow this guy. But we got this. I want to do something different today. We have some topics we want to touch on that I'm sure is on a lot of people's mind these days and on ours continuously. But I think it'd be cool just to let our hair down and just talk about these topics with just a free mind and not trying to deliver any, how would I say, any knowledge or anything, but just talk about what's on our mind freely.
Yeah, I mean, we just want this to be a free flow conversation, guys. It's all about just speaking about the truth we're learning daily, and there's no type of structure we want to these conversations. We want it to be a very open, free podcast like type of flow that you see in any other type of podcast, from Joe Rogan to Logan Paul to any of those guys. I think at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all, just living in this dimension of reality that we call life, and we just want to just kind of lay it out how we see it. So,
Yes, sir. So I got some tequila back here I'm gonna pour up, but while we're at it, I can start with the first topic we want to talk about is, what are your thoughts on reopening of, since we all been quarantined and on lockdown, what's your thoughts on reopening?
yeah, man, I think honestly, with the whole Donald Trump thing, I know a lot of people aren't Trump fans, so it's like, I think at the end of the day, Trump is feeling pressure to get the economy back into motion. There's just so much shit right now, right, that's like been more detrimental besides just the COVID-19. And that's just the crazy thing about it, man. It's just like, we think that the whole coronavirus is the real deadly thing, but it's the people that are locked in their house depressed. It's the people wearing masks, and
Yeah.
it's the people that are afraid to be near each other and intimate again, and it's all of the indirect consequences that I think are really messing this up more than the coronavirus itself. So I think the reopening is necessary, man. I think we really need to get back to it and get the economy back open, because we don't want to be worse than 2008, man.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want people to get back to work as soon as possible. With that being said, my thoughts on that is because by my research and the research we've done, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like, I don't feel like this virus is as deadly as it's being led to believe. So the fact that people are out of jobs and not able to get the proper medical care that they're supposed to get at the time, I don't feel like that's right, and I think people should be able to make the decisions themselves if they want to put themselves in harm's way. But as far as like closing down beaches and all that, I think that's like inhumane to like rob us of our natural wonders God's given us, like putting gates on that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What was the doctor today that was interviewed by London Real? Do you remember her name? What was it? She was on the pandemic thing.
I forget her name, but
anyway, she was just saying that, like, the whole idea behind wearing masks and doing all these things, staying indoors, it's ruining our health. It's killing our immune system, and I think that's the real pandemic right there. It's the whole idea behind trying to close off yourself from being exposed to germs and the virus and all that. It's like they said, she was talking about, and I know a lot of people are obviously gonna have their opinion on that, because there are some people that are pro-narrative to what the media tells you, but I think they're absolutely right when you look at her and Dr. Rashid Buttar, who also got interviewed with London Real, Brian Rose, and it all comes down to the immune system, right? Like, we don't have a vaccine. We don't even really know how this works. What was his name was talking about, the doctor from MIT, or the scientist, was talking to Brian Rose. He was saying that they don't even really know how to test for this shit. It's like, it's such a weird thing, and so yet we're trying to do everything we can to keep ourselves from it, but it's like sometimes riding through the storm like the buffalo, is the best way to get out of it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's where we need to be looking at things is that this has killed less people than the average flu,
Yeah, the numbers are adding up, and there was a video I seen on these nurses and doctors talking about how fatal it is that we are locked in our houses, that being on quarantine and not exposing ourselves to outside, like luckily we're still outside going on hikes, we're still going on bike rides, but the people that don't leave the house, come the time that they are being put back into the environment with germs, their immune system is now more compromised and susceptible to germs that they weren't exposed to daily, which they were. So now they're going back to work with more of a probable scenario of getting something so I don't know. It's just
I think there's definitely truth to that, because it's like you look at the idea behind just when you're scared, they were saying, and you're thinking about all the repercussions of things, dude. You're actually raising your cortisol levels. You're actually having a negative effect on the immune system more than you are doing something that's going to help build you up and make you stronger. And so I think just the whole media scare, fear propaganda that's being propelled in the media towards society and people are really just, that's the real damage right there. And I think people want to focus so much on the pandemic itself without realizing that it really is kind of this plandemic. It really is this idea of trying to scare people so much into it. And as much as the media is corrupt, which I truly believe it is, it's like we also have to see the side to it that is the fact that the media is driven by fear, and they want to, they put that in you, and so it's, there's so much to it, man. It's
never
crazy,
have
bro.
has anyone ever watched the news and felt good after watching the news? I know I really needed that news. It's like, dude, my mom watches the news all the time, and she's always in fear, but thankful for her that she has been that type of person to always look after people, but she's always in fear that she's skeptical, and it allows her to not enjoy life. Even before the coronavirus, fear of just I heard so and so, or there was a shooting down the street. It's you don't need to hear all of that information, even if it was true or not. You don't need to hear all that information, because it does you no good going to sleep knowing that information.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I want to play the devil's advocate in some regard here, because it's you look at one side where you shouldn't be diving into the fear-mongering media every single day, every second of your life, because that does add so much stress to you, and it does add unnecessary things that are out of your control. But at the same time, I do stress that people, as you do, your own research and look at things for what they are, and be aware of what's going on, because being completely in the dark, and I think that's what a lot of people want to do, is they want to literally push the media and everything away so much, because they're on the opposite spectrum, that they end up putting themselves in the dark, and then they don't know what's going on at all, and they're not prepared for any of the future steps that a lot of these doctors, a lot of these philosophers, if you will, modern day philosophers, I like to call them, Brian Rose being one of the biggest ones, that I think that's pushing the whole movement against censorship and against getting the truth out there. So
if you guys aren't familiar with London Real and Brian Rose, definitely check that out. And if you're not aware of what's going on the internet, if you're not up to that, a lot of things are being censored right now, just talking about having a different opinion on the coronavirus and what's going on. Just the fact that you have an opinion that's not being pushed by the news, that's now being removed from the internet, and people are wondering why. Some people that I would never thought would even entertain those ideas are reposting that stuff, and it's cool to see like an awakening. But there's still a lot more to do. But it's cool to see that it's going in that direction, that people are actually just questioning if they are being told the truth, because a lot of people, 90% or more, don't question that.
Yeah. I mean, overall, what is your side? And I don't even know if I really asked you this, Miles. Like, what do you see as the full truth? You know, do you think that there's some truth to the narrative of the media, as much as, you know, what you see on the other side, which is that everything is a lie almost? You know, where do you stand overall? Do you find yourself in the middle with any balance
It's
at all?
hard to say, because like right now it's weird. Like, so just yesterday or the day before, there was talk about this black guy getting shot, and they want justice for him, or they already found his like killers. They said he was just on a jog,
Yeah.
and things like that. And
I never heard of this.
this just happened 2 days ago. I forget his name, but knowing that the news is always not in your best interest, and always there's a narrative and there's always someone behind what you are being fed, that when that stuff does happen, it's not that I'm cold or I'm like don't care about it, but I always ask, like, why now? Why now is this news coming out? There's always people and people my color getting killed, but we have this whole coronavirus and people are getting censored, but now they're trying to divert focus on this dude that was going on a jog and was supposedly killed, and who knows if he actually did or not. But the fact that the news is pumping it, now that I know the news always never has my best interest at hand, and that it's always trying to push a narrative, even when it is something I need to be aware about, I'm always asking, like, why? Like,
what
why
was it?
now?
I guess I'm not familiar with the story.
You could look it up on your phone if you can.
Yeah, what's it?
It's like justice for, I forget his name, but it's
Justice.
everybody's reposting it, but it's like, where did this
Gabriel? Or no?
No.
That's definitely one of. Oh no, that's the Netflix thing, dude. Dude, that shit's freaking crazy, bro.
I've not seen that.
That's the little kid. You know what? This is something that I think needs to be talked about too. So Gabriel was on Netflix. There's a show about Gabriel Fernandez, who is this young little, cute little Mexican kid who was completely abused and neglected by his mom and her boyfriend at the time, and they would lock him in the closet. They'd lock him actually in a little cubby in like a pantry almost, dude, in their room, and they would keep him stuck in there for like hours and days at a time. And all the social workers that would come by completely neglected to like look into the situation, and he ended up dying. Went to the emergency room after having like BB gun shots like penetrating his skin, and like he had bruises and just the most like disgusting abuse that you could see on a child's body. And that's something I think a lot of people had come to the awareness now with the whole quarantine thing, was that these social workers aren't allowed to go out and investigate these children. So it's not that the quarantine is really protecting society from the repercussions of coronavirus as much as as much as it is about the idea that you don't have the protection that you need for like people like little Gabriel Fernandez, or even just the idea behind people who are homeless on the streets and have no way of going to get any type of food left over from restaurants or anything. It's just, this has such an indirect effect that goes so far that I don't think a lot of people have taken the time to really identify the repercussions. It's like that book Freakonomics, where we talk about like, the whole idea behind the criminal rate goes down as a result of like abortion rate going up or something. So it's like these indirect results happen as a result of this. So I mean,
Good point.
it's crazy, man. There's just so much going on.
It's a good point. It's like the quarantine's meant to be like trying to save society from each other, but it's really like allowing society to be more abusive and not take care of each other. It's like people in hospitals aren't getting the treatment that they need. They like you said, social workers aren't able to get to those type of cases when there's like domestic abuse in the house, and there's so many things that we all need to help each other with that we're not able to do because we're on lockdown, and it's mandated like by who? Like not everybody's best interest is decided upon by one person, and that's where things are wrong. I hope this quarantine has allowed people to wake up and be like, why should I listen to this person? Like, why can't I just take my life in my own hands and not be discriminated against if I don't want to wear a mask or if I don't want to do this or that? But I don't know.
It's tough,
crazy
man.
time.
It's such a tough thing because, you know, you do have people like my mom who has a autoimmune disease, celiac sprue, and you know her immune system is compromised. So, like Dr. Rashid Buttar said, you know, he was somebody who was one of the top general surgeons. You know, we all watched. I remember my sisters literally kind of pushed me to watch it that night, and I didn't feel like it, but they got so inspired by it, and he was right that, you know, people who do have compromised immune systems or they're not as healthy up to par as other people, they do have that susceptibility. But then again, Joe Rogan, I was watching today, he was talking about the whole idea behind how and I think it was also played into that doctor that was on the pandemic, but they were saying basically that if you keep the healthy people healthy, then you know you're also indirectly protecting the people that are not healthy. And you know, now that I think about it, I wonder how much that really works. You know, because a lot of these people are carrying the coronavirus, quote unquote, you know, without even knowing it or having symptoms. You know, so I don't know. I'm so torn at times because I do see that this is kind of a facade, but at the same time, there is a coronavirus. So there's no doubt. There's no dismissing that side.
There's definitely a virus, but like referring to the Brian Rose, Lyndon Rill, and David Icke interview, David Icke and other doctors have talked about like there is a virus, but the fatality rate of it is not what's being. The truth of it's not what's being put in the news, and like we're allowing it to transform. And they actually said that certain doctors and scientists deconstructed this virus to make it more how would I say, effective.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do a trial run to see if they could get it more effective. But it's like, why would you even? What's the advantage of doing that? So now it has the ability to mutate, even if it was not that fatal of a virus. It can now mutate to become a fatal virus. But at the moment at hand, it's what I've been shown. It's not that fatal, but that's where also like the talks of 5G come in, and there's so many different things that you could talk about, and it's like 5G does not give you coronavirus. It's not like what people say. Don't dismiss 5G that it's not harmful though, because 5G has frequencies that could disrupt your body. We're energetic beings, so the fact that type of technology is not even around us yet, and people in China were already protesting, and they're a communist type society that they shouldn't even be protesting. So the fact that they were protesting the 5G that was causing harm, that's a wake-up call. And there's already warnings on our phone that we shouldn't even have phones near us, and we're not even on 5G yet. Just imagine that. And like,
yes, Yes.
what happens with 5G is our body our vibration is being lowered and disrupted. Some of us may not even be able to feel those vibrations or be sensitive to them, but once it happens, you'll be more susceptible to illnesses and the virus of COVID-19 if you don't already have it, and other viruses. But
yeah,
that's crazy.
No, it's honestly, I was trying to look through my phone to find that disclaimer, but I showed my roommate that the other day, and this is something that Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, yeah, exactly. They wouldn't allow their children to even use tablets or electronics for more than like a few hours a day. And so, you look in the military, U.S. military talked about this as well, how they did studies on the fact that the RF radio frequencies from these devices do have effects on the human body. I mean, you think about it, we're electrically charged, right? We have this electromagnetic field within us. Our heartbeat is what pumps this electric current. They even kill people in that same manner, right? You see back in the day what was the movie Green Mile, where they killed that dude with an electric charge, right? Electricity is a part of this world, and it is a part of how the function rhythm of the human body works as well. We are electric beings.
Yeah.
Like Nikola Tesla said, we're antennas, we're electric beings that pick up frequencies. And so, if the phones before 5G were already giving our frequency disclaimers and it's telling you to hold your phone a little further away from your ear or put it on a speaker, that's telling you right there that before 5G even came into the picture, that there was this whole idea behind how the radio frequencies do affect the human body. So, you know what? I think there's truth to that, man. I think as soon as they roll out this whole integration, and I guess that's kind of the catch-22 behind this reopening, and also the fact that, just like David Icke and other people were talking about, that you roll all these people out back into society, and they got the 5G towers rolling up at the same time, and the fact that there could be this high effect rate of people getting sick and feeling illness, like doctors saying that there was high altitude illness is what they were seeing in the COVID-19 people, which is more so reflective of what the 5G does to the human body. It takes oxygen and it absorbs something like the hemoglobin of the blood within your body. So your body can absorb as much oxygen. So I wouldn't doubt if the resurgence is somewhat plays into the fact that people are just being more exposed to 5G, and that the resurgence is actually more so the fact that we're seeing 5G effects. So I think there's so many cards at play, man. I guess I'm curious, but yet kind of nervous to see how this is all going to roll out.
Well, no one's really experienced the effects of 5G, so once they do experience something abnormal, they're going to be like, I think I may have the virus, and they're going to be like,
yeah,
because it's all the symptoms of what people are getting right now, and the symptoms that they say the 5G causes in China and people that experience it is like altitude sickness. They feel like they're short of breath and they're fainting. They don't know what to think, but those are also the symptoms of COVID-19 right now. So it's like, if you don't do your research, you won't even be thinking this way. And that's why it's so important to even do your research. And if you are hearing stuff like this, like do your research and fact check. Like, don't just take our word for it. Like, I want people to have a confirmation. That's the only thing that changes your belief, is like a confirmation, not because so-and-so said it or Bill Gates or CNN, whatever said it. It's like, you need to know for a fact if it's true or not, or you're just left running around. Who knows? You're just
with your pants down.
Yeah, it's like you're literally just looking for some new information. Like, do you think that's right? I don't know. It's like, we'll find out. Why not find out? Why be at home stressing during this whole quarantine, and further on, and you've never done your research, and you're just like, I don't know, we'll see what happens, I'll wait it out. And like, has made a video about talking about how to get over past trauma and heal yourself. And I feel like this goes hand in hand. It's like, if you find something that's bugging you, if you figure that there's something bugging you, why wouldn't you try to figure out what it is? Like, if you have like a sense of unworthiness, or you feel like this trauma from a past relationship or something's bubbling up, think of it like, why would you allow it to keep causing you harm and like messing with your emotions? And why not figure out like, what is it that's going on? And once I figure out, okay, then I could be at peace with what it is. But until I know, I'm just like chucking it up like, I don't know, maybe it'll get better, maybe it won't, I'll give it time. But time never heals, it just causes more pain. And with more pain, that will cause you to wake up, but time never heals. So it's like, you can't give this virus and yourself more time to figure things out. It's like, the only thing that's gonna awaken you to the information is when the suffering is too much, that you're like, I'm done, it's enough, that I will finally search and get this confirmation that what I'm dealing with is bullshit. And it goes hand in hand. Like,
Yeah. And I do want to clarify, just for people watching, that, you know, time does heal in certain aspects, and that's only under the context of, let's say you break up with your girlfriend, right? You know, and you're like, oh, I'll never get over this. Like, I'm just gonna be just done for the rest of my life, you know? So for people out there watching that and thinking that time doesn't heal, in certain aspects, yes, it does, because it does allow you. But I know what, at the end of the day, where Miles is coming from is more so the fact that it's that if you don't take care of certain things in your life and you don't ever address them, then time isn't going to heal those things. And to that point, he's absolutely right, because if you're living in this idea of, you know, believing everything that you're told without ever doing research, and you're thinking that somehow things are going to change for you, then at the end of the day, you're living in a lie. And that's where Miles is coming from, is that you're not going to heal. Time is not going to take care of those aspects of your life, because it's like, those things are not, time doesn't do that for you, you know? And so I think as much as it is important to focus on being aware of the fact that not everything that we're being told is perfect, or it's, you know, this pretty little world that we've been painted. It's also, you know, realizing that, how can I learn to be this zenful type of meditative cat, if you will? You know, Miles and I are talking about cats all the time, and how cats have this zenful energy to them. You know, they're able to stay calm in situations that a lot of things like dogs, for example, can't stay calm in, you know, because it's learning to get a control of yourself, because you can't control the things around you at times, you know. It's coming to terms with what can your self-control outside of you, and more so coming to the realization that if you really want to have that zenfulness and that peace, it's being aware of those things, but learning how to be calm in the storm. And I think that's something that people need to hear, you know. It's like, you know, Miles is so right, that you have to know that time's not going to just heal you from situations that you're not addressing. And so the more aware and more research you do, the more you're going to be able to take off. So, I mean, you got to find that balance between learning the information and taking off from the old paradigm of thinking, but also learning, how do I settle into this calm, peaceful, zen place to be able to handle the truth that's being told to me, you know?
Yeah, like Eckhart Tolle in the Book of Power Now, he says, like, intelligence and consciousness aren't the same thing. It's like, if you rise too much in intelligence, and you don't rise in consciousness, that will outweigh and cause harm to you. You'll be too smart for your own good, and you won't allow your consciousness to raise with it. And if you're too conscious and you're not intelligent, you won't be able to even operate in society. So you have to find a balance of, whenever you're reading too much or you're getting smart on book smart, you need to raise your consciousness as well, or you'll tip over on one side. And that's like with people with like psychedelics, too spiritual, or people who are not spiritual at all and they're just book smart and they try to fact check you on everything. It's like you can't win. Both of those people aren't going to agree on anything. It's like you have to look at it on an even ground and be able to maneuver through life with consciousness and intelligence.
That's truth, man. You know, there's always this spectrum of, you know, one side, like Miles was saying, being the book smart people who are not always the most spiritually inclined. Then you get the people that live outside of reasoning and they live in the spirit so much that they almost sometimes get lost in the abyss of not even using any logic or rationality behind their decisions. And that in its own self can be just as dangerous because, you know, when you follow the ways of just the free flow of things, sometimes you do find yourself in places that you don't belong or you shouldn't be in. You know, I was just talking to my buddy the other day, who's very scientific driven. He's like, I would call more of an atheist, if you will, not out of like, well, I push atheism, but he definitely is. He's not inclined towards the spirit at all or the idea of it. And I took a little bit of a microdose of shrooms the other day, and I was on the phone talking to him, and we were just chatting about times that he's taken shrooms as well. And he had been with this girl that night that after they had this like great type of interaction on mushrooms, both their lives took off in different ways, like in this beautiful way that there was something unique that he even told me that he attested to, that it was beyond his reason. And he's a guy who, if he can't prove it on scientific evidence or any type of paper, then he won't believe that there's anything beyond that. And I was telling him about Dr. Hawkins in the book Power vs. Force and how he talks about how above the calibration of level 400, which there's this map of consciousness where we literally can see only through the lens of our emotion based on whatever level of consciousness that we're operating from at that time, and the shame being at the bottom. And there's this change within the map of consciousness that comes from level 2, I think it's level 200 or level 250, which basically pride is right at the bottom side of that map of consciousness. It's the down arrow that says that you're still living too much in the flesh, you're still living too much in a low conscious place. And then at level 400 above that, you know, you start to go into higher levels of consciousness where you start to see the arrows go up. And reasoning is at level 400, which is like where they say Einstein and science calibrates at. But you look at people above level 400 and reasoning is no longer in the equation. It's more about the spirit being able to fill the consciousness beyond reason. It's things that you can't quite understand, and I think that pertains so well to what's going on with this whole COVID-19 stuff, because, you know, I think people for the first time are coming into this realization that there's more going on than what we're being told, and that the reasoning behind everything is not quite what we think it really is, you know. But it hits the spirit in a deeper way, and I think that's why 1 million people literally jumped into the live interview of David Icke 3, because they realized for the first time that, you know, maybe I don't understand everything within the reasoning of my mind, but I know that there's something resonating in my heart that goes beyond that, you know?
Yeah, that's what it's been shown. A lot of people are being shown this new information that there may be another side, and they've never heard this information at all. And it's like shaking their whole world. But Tyler and I, we've been talking about this type of stuff, or sharing this stuff between us since like
10 years,
since
man.
2011.
2010 or so.
So like we're not shaken up by what's going on. We're almost like we always try to just see it from a different perspective, but I can't even imagine people that are like new to this information right now, or have always believed that everything has been like roses and daisies this whole time, and there's never been anything that they should ever worry about, or governments always had their best interests at hand. But it's like this is allowing people to wake up to like take their own power back, and I believe that there's a lot of great things that are going to come from this. It's going to take just a good amount of people to like wake up, but I'm seeing it gradually, so that's all we could ask for in this moment.
Yeah, man. You know, I think at the end of the day, guys, the main idea here to hone in on is that don't just take everything that you've been given as truth, you know, and listen to the intuitiveness of your spirit. You know, I think Einstein said something like that knowledge and reasoning and all this is is like the king or the boss, if you will. And I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but he said that intuitiveness is the servant that we've all forgotten. In other words, that we forget that all these grandiose ideas, that all these truths that come to us come from the intuitiveness. It comes from the intuition. And it's like, where does a genius idea come from? Where do all these profound thoughts come from? They come from the intuition, which is from God. And that's the divineness that gets downloaded, just like the Matrix and Neo, you know, where they plug in and you get the download of information that you would not otherwise have had before that plug-in. And so, guys, you know, don't just think that everything you've been given and all the reasoning or logic of the human mind is the answer, because, you know, just like the Bible says that the knowledge of man is futile. It's so it doesn't really matter compared to the knowledge of the wisdom of God. You know, you can't defy truth at the end of the day. And so as much as you want to reason behind certain structures or paradigms of thinking, you can't defy truth. And so, guys, you know, I think we're coming at you with this video today. You know, we don't want to keep it too long, but we just want to at least introduce the idea of the fact that you can't live in just reason all the time. You can't just live in the logic of the world. Sometimes you have to let your spirit resonate with truth, and you have to let yourself understand that we can't always understand truth, but we can feel it, and we know when it's right, and we know when it feels right, and we know when it's coming from someone who's speaking truth. And so, as much as sometimes we have this cognitive dissonance of wanting to be like, that doesn't make sense, I don't want to believe it because I never wanted to believe it in the first place, like, you know deep down in your spirit there's like a conviction of when you hear truth. And so, you know, guys, we want you to just step out and start believing in your intuition more, in the resonation of your truth, rather than just what you're being fed on TV and the digestion of everyday BS that we believe to be always so genuine. Then,
yeah.
So,
100% agree. I'd say, if anything, like during these times, I would just encourage anyone just to do their own research. If you are hearing anything that you're turning a blind eye to, or you're like, why would you ever think that? Just take the time that you do have now just to research it and see what happens. It's all we could ask for. But this has been a great combo, man. Bro. We're going to do this again. Like,
absolutely, man. At least once or twice a week, guys, we're going to be jumping into these type of, I don't even know if we can call them podcasts, but they're more just videos of us just spitting and flowing, man, if you will, and that's what we want. You know, we want it just to come from the heart at the end of the day. And so, you know, you can check these videos out either on Maz's channel or my channel. You know, we'll probably try to get another video going here, I don't know, maybe hopefully in the next few days, honestly, and before the whole quarantine thing is over and we're back to real life, if that even is the case, and however that looks. But we want to try to at least get as much of this out as we can while we can. And then from there, you know, hopefully we can stay on a regular basis of at least feeding you guys with what we're hearing, and hopefully you resonate. So
if any of this resonated with you guys, like, comment. We'd love to hear some topics you want to maybe have us talk about. So comment that, and then below, subscribe, hit the notification bell, be notified when we drop more content. Make sure to follow the Tyler, my homie Tyler, and just know that a belief may be comforting, but only through true experience can it be liberating. Grant yourself permission to level up. Until next time, it's your boy Salem.
Hey,
I'm out.
Peace.